Welcome to the first installment of our home brew guide, where we're going to help you elevate that coffee brewing experience at home. If you don't care how your coffee tastes, go ahead and hit that X button in the top corner. This page is definitely not for you. For those of you who do care what your coffee tastes like, stay tuned. This installment, we're going to go over just the basics of what you're going to need. So we're not getting into any brew methods or ratios here, but rather we're just going to show you what you need to start this epic adventure. So the first thing you're going to need, you guessed it, you're going to need some coffee. Now, we recommend that you buy your coffee in whole bean form. It means exactly what I said, whole bean form. It's going to look something like this. It's going to be not ground yet. Get it freshly roasted, preferably from a local roaster, and store it in an airtight container, okay? This is really, really, really important. Store it in an airtight container. The reason being is, otherwise oxygen will get at your coffee and will begin to rob your coffee of a lot of the flavor that it has when it's initially roasted or shortly after. So get an airtight container. Most coffee will come in an airtight package like this with a one-way valve on the back. That's fine, but once you cut that bag open, put it in a container like this. Please don't put it in your freezer. That's dumb. Just don't do it. The second thing you're going to need is you're going to need some form of grinder. Now there's two types of grinders. There's a blade grinder or a burr grinder. Now I'm not going to get super deep into it. You don't want the blade grinder. What the blade grinder does is it keeps all the coffee in one compartment up top and it chops it with a blade. And your coffee comes out super inconsistent. So you'll have some that are like size of small pebbles and some that looks like really, really, really fine salt. Long story short, it's gonna make your extraction process a freaking nightmare. You don't want it. So instead, you're gonna go with the burr grinder. Now the burr grinder is a basic concept of keeping your coffee in the top compartment and dropping it through a set of burrs that you can adjust for the coarseness or the fineness of your coffee. It'll then drop it down into a compartment below where you can actually utilize it. Burr grinders are great. You can find some pretty inexpensive ones out there to use at home. Now the next thing you're gonna need is a digital scale, something like this. Now the reason you're gonna need it is because it's gonna help you keep track of how much coffee you're putting in and how much water you're putting in. And this is vital because when you have a really good cup of coffee one morning, you wanna be able to reproduce it. So the way you reproduce it is you can know exactly, I put X amount of coffee in and X amount of water in, and I can reproduce it by using my scale again. Now on the flip side, if you have a crappy cup of coffee, you can know, perfect, that was not a good idea. I can change my ratio and keep really good control of it through a scale. The last thing you're gonna need is some form of kettle. You don't have to get a super fancy kettle, but you want a kettle where you can keep track of the temperature of your water. This is super duper important. Keep track of the temperature of your water. Okay? Now we would suggest you get a gooseneck kettle. Reason being is it's gonna help you control your flow rate better. So instead of just pouring your water in and not being able to control it, with the gooseneck, you really can control how much water you're putting out a lot better. It's the basic idea. At this point, you may be wondering, why in the world do I need all of this equipment just to brew coffee at home? The answer really is multifaceted. You see, first, it's gonna help you brew a better cup of coffee, plain and simple. Second, it's gonna enable you to extract coffee with different methods, and this is super important. What this is gonna do, it's gonna enable you to taste the same coffee, extracted differently, and with that, taste different nuances that you wouldn't taste through one extraction method or another. We believe this is vital to growing our love and your love for coffee. Here at Narrative Coffee Roasters, our heart is to cultivate community and culture. And we believe one of the best ways to do that is through coffee. That's why we've made this home brewing guide series just for you. So stay tuned for our future episodes where we're gonna show you some different methods on how to extract coffee like a freaking boss.